Scarefest Radio is sponsored by Blue Leaf Naturals, CBD and hemp oil products. Created with care from seed to shelf. BlueLeafNaturals.com. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being. Find them on Facebook. MECHANIX. And by Coyote Chris Sutton, bringing light to the darkest places. CoyoteChris.com.
The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Radio. The original broadcast date, February 1st, 2019. Wasn't January the longest year that you've ever experienced? So everyone, hey, my guest tonight, and we don't even have to put the camera on, see? Beth Darlington. That just popped right up there, right on my shoulder like that. So everybody, our guest tonight is Beth Darlington. I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Chris Sutton, who is fresh back from his cosmetic surgery.
God, ripped out me bloody hip. What are you talking about, cosmetic?
Yeah, if I was you, I would have went ahead and had the job
haircut?
finished.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying. Well, if I had to go to the hospital, I'd have just went ahead and made a day of it. That's all I'm saying, Chris. You wasn't expecting that one, was you? Everybody, of course, this is Scarefest Radio, and I am back from Vet City Con. The video and audio, I'm going to try to post some of it, but it didn't come out real good because we're working from on a really crappy laptop when we go on location now. We're working on that. But anyway, I'm back. We've got a double feature tonight. Right now, you're watching Scarefest Radio, but of course, at the next hour, we're going to have a whole nother show, with paranormal topics. But tonight, Scarefest Radio, we're talking to Beth Darlington, and we'll have her on in just a moment. Got some announcements I got to knock out. A reminder: the Scarefest is still looking for seminar speakers. Now, oddly enough, I think a lot of our normal seminar speakers are like taking it for granted this year that you don't have to fill out. No, you gotta fill out paperwork, people. You gotta fill out paperwork. But they still have slots open, and which is weird because this year we actually have fewer speaker rooms to deal with because of the remodeling at the convention center. So if you want to speak, get your application in. They want to have those all wrapped up sometime in March. I think it's March 1st is like when they want to have that preliminary list ready to go. Go to thescarefest.com, and there's a link there in the little banner and also in the hotels thing. The Hyatt room block is now open. So if you want to stay at the Hyatt but don't want to go Platinum Pass, you can get the Scarefest discount at the Hyatt, which is the host hotel, which is attached to the convention center. And you can do that. Just go to thescarefest.com, and the links are there. And finally, I want to remind everybody, go to scarefestradio.com and visit the Scarefest Radio gift shop. We've got Scarefest Radio t-shirts. Like Chris has on tonight. We've got the vintage Scarefest t-shirts. Over the last 11 years, there's always some t-shirts left over. Scarefest 5, they were all freaking small. But anyway, each year, last year it was extra large. So I don't even have them on yet because I don't have a mannequin big enough to put them on, take a picture. Anyway, or actually it was 2X. The point is, if you've missed a year or you want some cheap T-shirts, we've got Scarefest vintage T-shirts on sale. Shipped anywhere in the United States of America. Beth, you are SOL, by the way, because I am not gonna go stand in line at the post office to fill out paperwork to ship to anybody.
I'll just have to come over and get them.
Yeah. I thought it's because you didn't believe that Australia is really real, that NASA made it up.
That's a whole nother topic for discussion that we will bring up in the course of tonight's discussion. So everybody, those are my announcements for tonight. So let's go ahead and bring on our lovely guest, everybody, Beth Darlington, who comes to Scarefest every year all the way from Australia, the quote-unquote land down under. And of course, as Chris brought up, we'll just go ahead and touch on it. There's this whole conspiracy theory going around that you're not even in a real place. You're like an actor hired by NASA.
Well, if that's the case, I'll be double checking their salary conditions when it comes to payment, that's for sure. But yeah. So I'm just an illusion. I'm a hologram at the moment. And yeah, the future looks really great because it's actually the 2nd of February here. Just gone 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So yeah, woo, spooky. So yeah, that was an interesting one. The fact that we just don't exist. But sometimes I think when it comes to traveling to places like America or Europe or the States or anything like that, it does sometimes feel like you're coming from another dimension because we're so far away anyway. So it's probably a bit of truth in it.
My theory, the reason you come to Scarefest every year, and I actually meant to have the page pulled up. I don't have it. But everybody, Google things that will kill you in Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Did the image search on that. And they have a freaking tree that will sting you in Australia.
Yeah.
Nothing is safe. Nothing is safe. They have like dingoes eating sharks that have already ate people. It is just a scary, scary place. So my theory is the actual reason you come to Scarefest every year is for safety reasons.
Yeah, it's just for my own safety from the environment that I'm exposed to every day.
Increases your lifespan.
Yes,
that
or it's all the copious amounts of bourbon that kind of cleanse my insides. Alcohol's meant to be cleansing, but it's definitely more. It's a safety aspect for sure. Yeah.
In all seriousness, Beth. Now I realize that you probably don't have 3-foot spiders walking around Sydney, Australia. But at the same time, I'm sure some of these ghost hunting locations that you go to are out in the county, as we might say here in the States. When you go on location, is that something that is in your mind that I might die doing this?
Yeah. I think in Australia you grow up with these types of spiders or snakes and trees that can hurt you quite a bit or be quite painful. So we kind of get used to it. It's almost like, for me, I would feel it really interesting to be in a country that, you guys carry guns and in Australia we don't. I thought, wouldn't that be kind of weird? So I think it's when you're used to it and you're in that environment, it's like, it's not weird at all. It's just what we do. So I think from that context, it's, you do, when it comes to first aid and all that kind of stuff, a lot of Aussies do, or investigators are first aid trained as well. So because, like you said, we go out to the county and we call it out in the country or regional. And, there are, particularly in summer at the moment here, it's, snakes are very, very prominent anywhere. I have not seen one yet in the wild, and I do live in a semi-rural area, so touch wood, all is well. But, we've come across some horrendous looking spiders, and it's funny enough, sometimes the bigger, angrier looking ones are probably the safest ones. It's the really small, tiny ones with that little bit of colour on them. That's the ones you've got to really be worried about. So, but of course they're harder to see, aren't they? Especially when you're in the dark. So it is, if it's not that it's the living you've got to worry about, not the dead sometimes, and that kind of carries on to when it comes to snakes and spiders and things like that. But we have to be pretty aware of what they are, what they look like, and how to help each other out if we ever interact with one of them at all. Interact is a very polite way of saying, attacked.
Just to follow up on that, I'll admit that in the States, the spider that you hear everybody getting bit by, not everybody obviously, but is called a brown recluse. It's this itty bitty little spider that like hides in your mailbox and places like that. Not, it's not going to crawl up on your desk and bite you. No, it's when you reach in the drawer looking for your gun, for example. But I tell everybody the most dangerous thing about ghost hunting is you're going to fall down a flight of steps in one of these dark ass buildings and break your full leg. So, but that's I like that you all actually worry about first aid. Chris, whenever you talk to a ghost hunting group and they talk about their historian, they talk about some of them are trained police. Have you ever had one of them point out, oh, and by the way, Fred's an EMT?
I have once, and I applaud the hell out of those guys because they're thinking, we tell people, watch what the hell you're doing. These are dangerous places, not because of demons and spirits and all this other shit. It's because you could fall, and bust your head. And you've got to have this kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, that's exactly right.
Chris, over to you.
Beth, I've heard of one creature in Australia. Now, they were described to me as drop bears. And they say that they hide up in the trees and wait for tourists.
Yes.
And they crash down on top of them and get eucalyptus goop all over them. What are these creatures? These drop bears? What are they?
Oh, they are so much fun. That's what they are. What it is it's a very funny joke that a lot of Australians have created, or obviously one person has created this mythical creature. It looks like a very angry koala bear, if anyone wants to know what it actually is meant to look like. It's got fangs and a very angry face. And it's this cult sort of thing that we tell tourists that come over for the first time, be careful of the drop bears. They'll actually, they hang in the trees and they're waiting for you and they'll jump on you and stuff like this. Biggest load of baloney. No such thing at all. It's very like, it kind of adds it to the whole, well, if it's not a drop bear that's going to get you, you'll get done by a funnel web, a redback spider, a red belly snake. Take your pick. Not surprised anybody comes here at all. But yeah, it's very much what we tell to tourists about, sort of like, oh, there's this mythical drop bear. I mean, I went to I was a panelist at the Australian Skeptics convention last year, and part of the shirts they were selling outside have a cartoon picture of a drop bear. That's their kind of joke, in the sense of, oh, well, we hear about facts and evidence. This is a skeptics convention, but we've got a joke kind of thing where they've got the picture of a drop bear on their shirt, which I thought was really kind of cute. Had to buy it, of course, clearly.
We're going to get some crypto group like believing in this stuff and send them over the outback to look for the drop bears, and like they would look for Bigfoot or something like that.
Oh, mate, you've got more chance of finding a yowie than you would of anything like that, I tell you. But yeah, it's kind of like our tongue-in-cheek joke to the rest of the world.
Yeah, a friend of mine over there told me about the drop bears, and I just died. I just thought that's funnier than hell. Because, everybody thinks, oh, it's koala. It's like a koala bear, but everybody thinks about how cute they are. And I know they're bloody nuisance probably half the time. I mean, they get in your garages, and I've seen some really cool pictures. They get in your house and just do all kinds of crazy stuff.
That's true.
They're just like, just like squirrels are, I guess, around here. They're still all over the damn place.
Yeah.
But they're so cute.
Oh, they are. They're beautiful, and they sleep a lot, which is the one thing, because the eucalyptus oil makes them dozy. So they're kind of a bit drugged out, I guess you could say, most of the day until they get grumpy and they want to go and have something to eat or fight with each other. It's kind of a bit like Australians, but we're very much like our wildlife. We either kill you or we get drunk and we sleep. We're not a country, sort of founded on thieves, so it's got to come from somewhere, I imagine. But there are times I go out the back door and there's wallabies jumping around, and because I've startled them and they're staring at me, I'm like, which way are you going? It's like
yes, I would love that. I mean, and I heard the koala bears make the worst noises in the world when they're mating.
Sounds like someone's dying. You're thinking, oh my God, someone's been choked out in the middle of the street. No, it's just our wildlife. That wildlife. It's the animal one. Not really making this much better, am I?
Oh gosh. Well, we'll have to come back to the koalas later on because it's time for us to take our first break. So Wes, back to you.
Everybody, you're watching Scarefest Radio. We welcome our newest sponsor, Blue Leaf Naturals. Everyone is talking about CBD oil. Most of us know that CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits, but does not make people high. Its benefits include pain relief, anti-seizure properties, anxiety relief, fights cancer, reduces the risk of diabetes, and it is even used as a sleep aid. Blue Leaf Naturals CBD and hemp products are full-spectrum hemp extract oils. They use only hemp grown in Kentucky, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses and helping you and your family stay healthy and well. Blue Leaf Naturals, created with care from seed to shelf. Visit their website at blueleafnaturals.com. Blue Leaf Naturals, a Kentucky proud company. And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Radio. Not ready to give away anything yet, but I will tell you that we're going to do it on Facebook tonight. I'm going to try to do it on Facebook, and we will do it on the Scarefest, the main page. That's the one you like, the Scarefest, and we'll do it under the double feature banner. So just so you know, have your Facebook open. The banner that has the double feature thing, that is, I'll even post a little note on it so that you know you're in the right place. If you see me post contest here, then you'll know you're in the right place. Everybody, now our guest tonight is Beth Darlington. She's from Australia. She's a paranormal researcher. And last year at the Scarefest, many of you know, that was her first year presenting as a seminar speaker. Beth, was it everything you hoped it would be?
Oh, it was that and so much more. That's why, I come back every year. It's just the atmosphere, the being able to have the opportunity to be able to speak as well. The people that were there were asking really good questions, so you know that your content is being understood and people are really engaged with the topic that you're talking about. And it's also good for me from an international perspective where it's the kind of questions aren't always the same. So, often, I speak around Australia, but it's nice to, there are different questions from people from a completely different part of the world, which, obviously helps me learn as well. So it's a very, it's a different environment. It's a lot of people have grown up very differently to a lot of people here in Australia. So the kind of questions people ask are really interesting. And I really like that because then it helps me with my learning content and what I produce and roll out as well. I include these comments and questions in there. So I'll say things, here in Australia we do this, but in America it's like this, or in Kentucky it's like this. So that's really, really good. And I always enjoy that part as well. So it's a two-way, you're often learning while you're presenting as well as just providing information for people and asking questions and seeing what their thoughts are on it. But it's always so much fun. I just love it. It's just so good. And then, of course, it was the VIP party afterwards. So what a way to celebrate a fabulous talk. So twist my arm.
Now, the follow-up to that is, have you, I brought it up earlier in the episode, have you filled out your application for this year, young lady?
I haven't as yet because I'm finalising a brand new talk idea, which I don't want to say just yet. But yes, knowing that the deadline is the 1st of March and they want to lock it all away, I know I need to get myself into gear a bit quicker and fill out those details. But yes, I will be putting something forward.
Chris, over to you.
I keep laughing and grinning. I just remember the first year you were at Scarefest. What was that, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah. And 4 years ago.
We lost you for a day and a half. It's like I'm sure you're sightseeing and having a good time because Lexington, Kentucky's the place to be. To go out and have a great time and stuff. So, I will say this, and it's so good to see you every year because from the first time that speaking for myself, and I'm sure if it wasn't Anita. And so my wife met you last year was taken with you as well. And we just love having you. And like the second or third year you were here, I'm on the black carpet because I was speaking. There you were, and I was like, oh, great, Beth's here, you know. So, but yeah, it's always good to have you, and you bring something different. You had an entourage last year. First year you came by yourself. Then you brought your one friend with you. Next year, he had 4 or 5 people with you last year. You know, bodyguards. I mean, you're getting up in the world there. You know, these are like, you know, Beth's bees. You know, like Beyonce's bees.
I like bees. That.
There you go.
The bee club.
Follow you about when you're going on tour and things like that. You know, speaking the word of the paranormal and whatnot. But
God,
so Access Paranormal. What?
That was weak. Your accent there. I'm sorry, dude. Oh, stick to your day job. Go ahead.
You have one accent, and that's deep south. But that was I have to work on my accent. You're right. You know, it's like working with friends. You know, I start picking at you while you're on. You know, while it's your turn to ask questions and stuff. Yeah, thanks, buddy. But so Access Paranormal, what's it? You know, it's been let's see, last September, so last half a year. What's been going on with Access?
Wow, a lot of things. I've had to pull back a little bit because I'm looking at changing the direction of it a little bit. It's definitely going to still be focused on online learning for paranormal investigators, but obviously a lot more event-based. So it's a lot more, not from a coordination perspective, but more from an attending and providing information perspective. So that was why I was able to attend this Australian Skeptics Convention, of course, obviously being able to go to Scarefest, which is another big win as well for me, and also being able to talk around the country as well. And that's also continuing on this year too with a lovely group of ladies called Frightfully Good Weekends, Renata and Anne. And we've got a talk happening in 3 weeks in a place called Tasmania, which is currently having a lot of bushfires. So hopefully Tasmania will still be there before we get there. Heart out to all my Tasmanian buddies. And also in Queensland a couple of months afterwards that as well. So, you know, workshops and talks and investigations and things like that. So it's really good. And I enjoy that. I really enjoy the people interaction. It makes such a difference to be able to get out there and meet people face to face, not just be online all the time as well. So, of course, you know, budget's required for those kind of things. You can't just fly whenever you want to, although that would be lovely. But, you know, time it out and meet these people that, you know, do follow you, that do listen to the information you do provide. But, yeah, definitely also at the same time doing it a 50-50 percent online sort of stuff and then really getting out there as well. I mean, I love traveling. We come from a traveling family, so it's not difficult for me at all to want to hop on a plane and head on out. So, so that's generally what's been happening. Yeah. And also getting back into the swing of things this year as well. So first newsletter went out 2 days ago, and I'm doing my first live feed, regular weekly live feeds on Tuesday nights Australia time. Again, as of next week. So getting back into the swing of things, which is good because I've missed it. Usually I get withdrawals. Some people get withdrawals, obviously, with investigating or not being able to investigate for a while. I think I was starting to get withdrawals a little bit for being away from the business a little bit because of the Christmas, New Year break. And my normal paid job is one where there's a lot of shift work around the Christmas period. So that's why I can't really do anything much within Access until probably, you know, February, which of course is now. So yeah, it's lots of fun. I love it.
That sounds. You said Tasmania. I think most people over here, you know, the only thing they know about Tasmania is the Tasmanian devil. And that's about it. You know, although I did catch something on Animal Planet the other day about this. All sorts of cool critters there. But so that's, you know, that's just neat to go around doing those things. Now you talk about doing online stuff for paranormal investigators. So there is, I mean, you could, you know. There's so much information out there, so many ways of doing these things that you could get so lost in going into you know, hundreds of techniques and all these types of things. How did you pare all this down?
I've got a little free course at the moment, which is like 3 areas, major areas about debunking, so that the most common things that come up when people start to look at investigating. But I'm actually looking at creating an actual paranormal investigator online course. Now, there are tons of them out there from all different styles of people who different qualifications or no qualifications. And it's the way in which I provide information is very much we don't really know, according to science, if there's ghost energies or spirits, but there is something. And we should look at it from that angle, as opposed to, okay, always saying, okay, these are the types of spirits, or when you see a ghost, or when you, well, okay, well, maybe you've seen something, let's look at it from this angle, just a little bit more from a skeptical perspective, but still with that good sounded logic behind it too. So I'm actually literally in the very early stages of pulling together the framework for that particular course, and it will be somewhat in depth as well. So it's not something where, okay, well, it's, you know, you can do it over a week and, you know, there's your diploma type stuff, which I really have an issue with people using that word for something that's only 20, 30 hours to do study. I think there's a moral issue with that personally. For me, diploma means a minimum 12 months study, not a couple of weeks. But anyway, each to their own. But it will be something that will be meaty. It'll be stuff that you'll need to go out into the field and then complete parts of it and come back. So it'll be interactive in that way as well. So I think it's just another avenue for people to learn how to investigate from a really rational perspective, as opposed to, well, you know, we can be open to the paranormal. I mean, I've had experiences that I can't explain and they could be paranormal, but I'm not going to put that label on it until I really know for sure. And I haven't been able to as yet. So yeah, fingers crossed I can get my butt into gear and get rolling on that one, and hopefully be able to have that out into the public soon. So yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, I like the idea of, you know, you want to debunk first and investigate thoroughly, and not get all, you know, people want to, you know, take pictures of light smears or orbs and, oh, we found all this stuff, and then, you know, fire and brimstone rain down upon them on Facebook. One thing I have taken a really pointed interest in the last year or two myself is with not necessarily the ghosts or whatnot of humans, which I'm still interested in, or, you know, that type of thing, but also what some people would call elementals, in the European to be the fairy, the fae, and things like that. And I'm sure Australia, with all the rich, you know, the dream time with their Aborigine and their spiritual path. Have you ever delved into that at all with, you know, some, you know, spook lights or, you know, or fairies or things like that?
It doesn't. I personally haven't come through a lot of cases. There's been probably, if you had to put it into percentage, I've probably had about 20% of cases that have actually possibly have been due to our Indigenous culture, our Indigenous people here. One was in particular was a case where someone was actually seeing what they perceived it was an apparition of an Indigenous man with a spear in their backyard. And it was, you know, rustling and movement as well. So it was interesting that there was that too, you know, in the sense that they'd seen this Aboriginal person. Like you said, you know, often, you know, Hollywood sort of makes it look like your apparitions are glowing and stuff in the dark. It's often not the case at all. They just look like you and me, physical people. And this person had seen this Indigenous man out in the backyard quite a few times, and knowing that, you know, the way in which he was dressed was very primitive of the time, and in suburbia in Sydney is very, very rare. So that's probably one of the most prominent cases I've had. But there's been ones further out in, you know, out county in regional New South Wales, where people will see things like min lights, and they're like fairy lights for other people that they may not know. And some say that they can actually entice you to troubled areas or to your death is one thing as well. Yes. Sometimes people may have thought that someone was enticed away and they've never been seen again. Obviously, you can't really sort of find out any more about those particular claims, but that's one of the ideas. A lot of people out in country areas may think that happens to somebody. So there's all things like that as well, of all different type of stuff, all different types of, I mean, as I said, we've mentioned earlier, you know, there's the Yowie as well. And Indigenous Australians are very, very strong in their belief that they do exist, but also that to stay away from them, stay absolutely away, leave them be. You just know of their presence and you just move right along. Don't try and entice, don't try and hunt them down. That's rude and disrespectful. But of course, as curious investigators, I think there's ways you can possibly investigate this type of, I don't really want to use the word creature, but there are ways you can do it respectfully. I think that's also with paranormal investigating in haunted cases too. I think, you know, it's the same kind of thing. You don't go in there guns blazing unless you're in a jail and it's a public event and you can kind of have a bit of leeway, but you wouldn't do it in Aunt Maud's house or something, you know what I mean? You pick and choose your battles, and I think that could also be the case with Yowie cases, or looking into Yowie cases as well.
It's, you know, it's so similar to the Native American view of what they Sasquatch, or like oftentimes referred to as the big man. And he's usually, sometimes he's a sign of troubles, but the last thing you do is be disrespectful and try to, like you said, try to catch him, mess with him. And it's so similar to the, the original Australians and, the original Americans doing, having the same beliefs without any, cross-cultural and contamination that we know of. So that is truly some cool stuff. So, well, I see we're half past the hour. So, Wes, it's time for our next commercial break.
Everybody, you're watching Scarefest Radio. When we come back from break, I will give you what you have to post on the banners tonight. I'll go over the rules once again, but to win a 3-day pass to Scarefest 2019, Scarefest 12, Scarefest XII. We'll be right back. Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Find them every month at Lexington, Kentucky's Mystical Fair, mysticalfairlex.com, or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being. And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Radio. Okay, we're going to do some business here. We're going to We're going to give away a 3-day pass. 3-day pass to Scarefest 2019. On the Scarefest Facebook page, that is the one designated as The Scarefest. Underneath the double banner that says by me, as that I shared, saying double feature on Scarefest Radio tonight. And I've already typed in as the Scarefest contest here. A dingo ate my baby. A dingo ate my baby will be the phrase that you can type in there tonight to win a 3-day pass to Scarefest 2019.
Jerk him off, it did.
Anyway, you got to stop doing that accent, Sutton. Okay, now, and I do want to point out, by the way, just to answer Chris's question before, her entourage last year were from the cast from NASA. They were from the people that are there to make us think that it's an actual place. They hire these people, pay them like minimum wage, and anyway, now Beth, this is something that I think you've really already answered. I went to the Access Paranormal page and I noticed that you did not. We've got a winner. The podcast. You lay off the podcast in the winner.
The podcast winner.
Oh, did we break up there on you? Let's see here. Let's see here. We've hit a little glitch on our. We've lost Beth. That's what's happened. Your video's cut out.
It looks like I'm constantly laughing. It looks amazing.
We got nothing. We got nothing but Sutton. So you might need to tell you what. Hit the pause on your camera and then restart it, and we'll see if that makes it pop up. Anyway, the question was about your podcast. Do you lay off that in the wintertime? There she is.
She's back in the room. It must have been a glitch from the future. Sorry about that. Oh, my bad.
NASA cut us off because we're on to them.
I know.
Yeah, there we go.
You're onto them. That's why they know. So they like to disturb it and not sure the truth gets out. So yes, I as far as the podcast I've been doing, I actually only ever did one episode last year. That's because there was a lot going on as far as planning, and I also wanted to look at changing the structure of it as well. But there will be one coming out soon, and it'll be covering paranormal investigation I was able to join in a town called Wellington. Now, it's not Wellington, New South Wales. Oh, sorry, it's Wellington, New South Wales, not Wellington, New Zealand. And it's
like we would know the freaking difference. Go ahead.
That's all right.
It could have been Wellington, Connecticut. It wouldn't have mattered to me.
And it's beautiful, beautiful old hotel run by a lovely lady and her family. And I had the privilege of joining the guys called PACT, PACT, great Sydney team. And yeah, we just literally, it was, it's one of those rare times where you almost, you can almost have the whole building to yourself. It's like a free for all, and you can, find out information. I mean, she's had experiences there, so she's obviously wanting repeat or investigations over a period of time to see if there is anything there that's happening that can verify her experiences. There's all different spots around the place as well, so we're really able to cover those two. So, and there was another place we went to, which is an beautiful old accommodation and function centre a bit further up in town called the Hermitage, and it is a gorgeous building. But you wouldn't know looking at it. It used to be an asylum as well. So, the kitchen was where they used to do all the medical procedures, and, down out the kitchen is where they would have the morgue slabs, and then where they would have moved, bodies and things like that. I mean, all the macabre stuff that we just find fascinating and other people would be absolutely horrified about. It was a great experience. So luckily, I'll be able to get through most of it. I've got through most of the audio. I haven't come across anything too suspicious as yet. But obviously, I was able to interview some of the team as well and get their thoughts on it too. So you'll hear a couple more Aussie accents in that one as well. So yeah, it's going to be good. I want to try and break up the podcast a little bit and make them a little bit more in depth. The biggest complaint I get is that they're not long enough. So they usually go around 20 minutes, half an hour. Not long enough. I'm like,
no.
Okay, so maybe taking more time to build more. Well, maybe I should just talk more. I don't know.
Commit.
We'll figure it out.
Read the phone book. That'll keep the American audience happy. One thing that you do that I've heard on your podcast when you go on location like that you are so much better at than I ever will be, is when I just absolutely love when you are walking through and describing where you're at. You may not realize it, but you are very good at painting a very vivid picture with your words, which awesome. Obviously I'm not. But that was a couple that I've heard. That was one thing that caught my ear, if you will, was that you were just describing your surroundings and what you were doing, what people had experienced there. To do that on the fly, even if it's edited, I realize, okay, yeah, you probably cleaned it up a little bit and knocked a couple of awkward pauses out. But you were really good at that, and that is one thing I want to tell you. You make sure you fit that into the podcast.
Yeah. There was already one section when I walked through with one of the ladies that was with me. Her name's Chloe, and we're wandering through, and I'm asking her questions, and I'm also describing what we're looking at the time. And we had some interesting things happen at that particular instance as well. So that's going to be included in the first episode. So yes, that particular format will still be rolling through it for sure. But thank you for that. I didn't realize. Oh, I'm so glad.
Now, on a related topic, since we're talking about Access Paranormal, everybody, Access Paranormal. You're trying to educate ghost hunters. Fair enough. Everybody who tries to get into, well, actually, I'd say every paranormal investigator that pays any attention to what anybody else is doing falls into this category. But as an educator, what is your biggest pet peeve about the paranormal, what you see people do in the paranormal field?
Gosh, there's only one. Okay. Whew. All right.
or a dozen. We still got 20 minutes left.
Oh my goodness. Geez, pet peeve. People who are too quick to post something on social media without really looking at all avenues first. I think that's probably it. And for two reasons. Obviously, one for themselves, where we've seen it before. It's almost like a pack of rabid dogs at that particular person, because a lot of people turn around and say, well, no, that can be explained by blah, 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 blah. You didn't take this into consideration. But, the person just gets mauled apart. And it's hard to watch sometimes. It really is. So there's that perspective of it. And also someone from the outside in. So when I say outside, someone who's not really into the paranormal but might like a ghost tour or two, or maybe a ghost story, sees this happening and thinks, well, we're all idiots. We're all going to, don't know what we're doing. We're kind of posting whatever we feel like and going, it's a ghost. And often I'll do with my live videos, there could be a photo in the media, particularly, sort of the Daily Telegraph or the, Daily Mail or anything like that. Those kind of sort of tabloidy type sort of news reporting, and they'll have a ghost photo and they'll go, look at this picture of this ghost, and I actually will go through and pick it apart, but in a really constructive way. So I'll go through and say, look, okay, we need to look this part of the image, this could be happening, this is this little part here, this is not in proportion to blah, there's some blurring here, we could suggest X, Y, Z. So this stuff's going to be in the media. It is really annoying for me, and a pet peeve. But they're looking for clickbait. They're not looking to educate. So I try and turn, most of the time when stuff like this happens, I try and turn a negative into a positive. So I will actually go, okay, well, if you really want to look at this, this is a way to do so. And those actually tend to be the most popular videos, to be honest. So yeah, that'd be a pet peeve.
I understand that. I don't mind when groups go ahead and throw, because I used to do it a little bit. I'd actually put something out there that was interesting and say, what do you think? I'm looking at this. Look at it with me. And I liked the input, and a few times, people came up and, helped me debunk stuff. But I'm with you 100%. Now, that's not my main pet peeve. But when people put stuff out there and go ahead and lead with the paranormal claim, even if you think everybody here's my soapbox. Even if you think it's paranormal, put it out there first without that claim. Because if you put it out there saying that it's paranormal, it will inevitably come back and bite you in the ass. That's just I've seen it happen too many times. And along those lines, I'm giving a seminar right now. If you have to take a video of your monitor to post a video, you're doing it wrong. Get the file, post it that way. There. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of evidence that if you just glanced at it, kind of like we're talking about, ooh, I can't explain that because we were in the room. There was no light that went across the back wall. But when you look at the video and you say, that looks an awful lot like you were standing there watching a monitor. And, and somebody in the background smoking right now. So that kind of thing. I agree with you.
Yeah. So what's your pet peeve? I'm really intrigued if that's not your biggest pet peeve. What is yours?
People who spend all night listening to a damn ghost box. I'm not saying there's not validity to a ghost box. I'm not saying there's not validity to any of these audio type things that you do on your cell phone or whatever. I'm not saying they're not valid, but I'm saying if you are a one-trick pony, then I just can't spend a night that way. I've heard some, and I've caught really good evidence on it, but I've seen so many people put all of their eggs in that basket, and I guess I'm old-fashioned. I like a good old-fashioned EVP with the whispery voice in the back of the recorder that doesn't sound like your thumb rubbing up against it. That's my favorite when it comes to audio. I would rather have one really good, solid EVP that had a good control on it than I would 2 hours talking to a ghost on a broken radio. I said it.
What do you reckon, Chris?
Probably my biggest pet peeve, and lots of people do a lot of different things. I'm like, but each their own. I understand what Wes is saying about the boxing because people want to sit and listen all the time. But you do an event, that's what people want to do. Unfortunately, you do a video, that's what people want to. Oh, that's just the greatest thing in the world. But again, like that's they're valid. But don't get so hung up on one thing. Lack of respect is my biggest. Whether it's to each other as investigators or whatever, however you deal with the paranormal or the spiritual field. Lack of respect to the venues, to the sites. And most of all, to the spirits. They're not there for your freaking entertainment.
Yeah. If
you can talk to them and be there for them, that's cool. Or just tell you, be upfront. This is what I want. And I just see so much people standing on each other's shoulders trying to reach the top, and pimping each other out, and it's just I hate seeing that shit. But that's mine. It's back. Let's treat each other like human beings. Let's treat the spirits with respect, and whether they're human spirits, elemental spirits, whatever, everything with respect. That's my big thing.
I'm going to jump in here. We're going to take our final commercial break, and incidentally, some of the ghosts like it. They're tourist ghosts. They enjoy it. But final commercial break of the evening. Everybody will be right back, and I'll tell you who won the 3-day pass.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to coyotechris.com to learn more. And we're back with the final few minutes of Scarefest Radio. Our winner tonight, Leslie Wayman. Sherry Horkick,
Leslie.
You get honorable mention. You were really close, but I saw Leslie first. Leslie Wayman, you are the winner tonight. I will get your email address, and we'll get that emailed over to you this next week. And Chris, over to you.
Wes, before I ask Beth something, I know something. I a large amount of money on my PayPal account to you while I was under medication the other day. Do you know anything about that?
I felt really guilty about taking that money while you were on hard drugs, but somebody's got to pay the bills, baby.
That's awesome.
Actually, we did discuss it. Wes didn't rip me off while I was on morphine down after my hip replacement.
Actually, I felt, tell the whole story. He asked me about it, and I said I was kind of feeling guilty about asking you while you were on your deathbed. So.
I was on my deathbed. That's what you're going to say, too. No, we did discuss it. And no, I was with it when we discussed that, too. So, but, I
about average anyway. Go ahead.
That's right. Okay. So in the past, since we've seen you in September, we've talked about some of the things Access has done. As far as investigating that type of thing, anything new or anything different, or is it always the same old grind, or what's going on out there in the country, in the cities of Australia?
Very cool.
Australia.
Australia. Yeah, that's it. I'm liking it.
Ocean shrimp on the barbie.
Chimp on the barbie. Dingo's got my baby. There we go. So yeah, it's like I've also often found it in the States as well, where investigators are starting to get bored with the methods that we're currently using. We can do them to death, which is, it's not like you're doing it for entertainment. Some people do, that's great. But if we want to try to change things up and try different ways, of course, doing the same thing repeatedly, that's a lot more from a scientific way to actually look at getting results or seeing if there's a change in the results. But people we want to try a different sound experiment. And there's been different ones that people are trying. There's one in particular where it's listening out to the ghost box. I know Wes is going to love that, but it's actually interpreting what they think is coming through at the time, as opposed to listening back to a recording of it later, with people in different rooms. So I won't go too much into the details on how it works, but it's a really good experiment idea to have, also in the group setting as well. Obviously, if you're running a tour or anything like that, because it's group interaction and it's trying to, make communication to whatever could be out there. So there's a little bit of that happening as well. I'm pretty quiet, I think, as far as events here in Australia. I think it's really quieting down. And we had one of our great conferences be cancelled, and that's been a bit difficult as well. So with Paracon Australia had been running for a couple of years, but they just wasn't able to sort of take off this last year. So then there's, as far as from an events like international events perspective, Australia is very, very quiet, and I think it will be for a little while yet. I think it's just because we just don't have the population to sustain a really big event. And I think, the idea is there, but, the last one of that particular conference had roughly around 100 people, if just over 100 people over a weekend. That's huge. That's huge for here. So that you can imagine why when I go to somewhere like Scarefest and it's like a kid in a candy store, I'm like, this is epic. Like, you've got thousands of people coming through over a weekend. So it's, it's just purely a population thing. The interest is there, but because it's such a niche interest in the first place, it's even smaller. There's that kind of thing. So that's generally what's kind of happening. Obviously, we have our dramas as well. There's obviously going to be a couple of teams or groups or people or individuals that just don't like other people doing something different and being recognized for it. But like you said, it's the whole respect thing. Just got to respect people for who they are and what they do, even if you don't like them. So, I'm not immune to it either. I cop some crap sometimes as well, but you just roll with it. And that's just how it is. It's the paranormal field. And if you take it too personally, you won't last no more than a few weeks, to be honest. It's, if you're very, very well known and on social media or anything like that, then you're more susceptible to it. But you just got to let it Teflon pan. You let it sort of roll off you, and just keep moving, because my passion for it's much bigger than, and most other people's, than someone's thoughts of what they think I do, which aren't true. So. Yeah. So
you have been victimized by Australian trolls, paranormal trolls.
Oh yeah, but I'm hard pressed to find somebody who hasn't. You know what I mean? It's almost like an initiation, a rite of passage, and almost to the point where I at first have thought, no one's come after me. What? Everyone else gets it. I probably just jinxed myself, but it's almost, that's the way you look at it from a sense of humor. It's like, geez, it's a bit quiet today. It's obviously someone's too happy in their life right now. I'm sure something will pop up on social media. Oh, there we go. Someone's grumpy.
I'll jump in on this, and then we'll get things rolling, and they'll be after me for too long. Yeah, but that means, actually, I think it means that people care about what you say, and what you say has weight. Otherwise, they wouldn't pay attention to you. And again, it's the old, I don't like her. I don't like what she's doing because, she's getting more attention than I am. And so I'm going to troll her. I'm going to, make up some shit and, stir it up and try to discredit people. It's the same place. It's the same thing every place else, too, here in the States, of course, and over there. So, okay, let's say you could plan out your next 10 years. Where do you see yourself going?
Oh.
I know it sounds like a job interview, but I'm always interested, in what people are, if they could choose, with what they're doing now, and they could expand on what they want to do. What would you do?
My goodness, I'd have an educational company, which I do at the moment, but in a much bigger scale. So I would actually hold proper classes in a proper location that, for those who want to attend from an international perspective, can do so via online. So nobody is left behind, and really good informative stuff, and something that, proper programs. In 10 years, I'd love to be able to have a degree in psychology. That would be brilliant. I'm not sure how, obviously it's in a very intense course to do, but I'd love to be able to be academically backed myself. So when I do roll out information, I can say I am actually qualified to talk about what happens with the mind, to be able to help with investigating. So things like that, I would love to be able to do that. So, because I often applaud and encourage people to look at courses, not just the course, but who's actually running it, where are you getting this information, is it reliable, what experience do they have, what proof of that experience, so that kind of stuff. So I'd love to be able to have that, and just to have it as an organization that can really roll out good, level-headed academic stuff, but presented in a way that anyone can do it. And that's the biggest thing for me. It's what stopped me from ever getting a degree or going to universities. The way the information is presented is just not me. I'm not a read book essay writing person, but yet the information is really valuable. So what's another way that can be presented so I can still move forward and do what I want? Yeah.
I learned that. I hated, we call college, you call university. I didn't like it, but I finally just said, hell, I got to do it. And I'm not a book write paper person either, but I did it, and it has paid off. I mean, I've worked in social services for 30 years, and so I can use that when I'm working in these, as far as dealing with people. I'm dealing with people who say that, the spawns of Satan are in their basement, and, they're mad as hatters. And so I can relate to, because I know I've worked with people with mental health issues, and so bless their hearts, and but they are attracted to that sort of thing, because anything but looking at themselves, it's got to be something else causing their problems.
Exactly.
And yeah. And so I'm sure you run into that too, as well. Is it? They get mad at you if you don't produce, something evil or twisted, or, an imp or something like that, at least. And they get all kinds of upset with that kind of stuff. But so the way I do paranormal stuff, it all works together. So it has benefited me. So I if you can still do it, go do it. I really think it will open up other horizons for you.
I'd love it.
Go after it.
Send it out there. There
you go.
Make it happen. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Let's see. Well, I'm still alive. But if I keep losing
new
body
hips.
parts.
You've got new hips. That's the first one.
New hips. That's right. Yeah, I have one nugget in. Wasn't one that I was supposed to be asking the questions. Anyway, okay, this is fun. I just want to be. I like to be doing what I'm doing, but doing more of it. I was talking to a friend of mine, and the other day I said I want to retire so I can go to work and do these things full time. And when I have to go to my day job. But so I'm looking forward to that. I like to get out and talk to more people. I love presenting. I love to get up and get up in front of people and getting attention-seeking behaviors and things like that. But just my tagline, bringing light to the darkest places, and just, just meet as many people as I can and talk to as many people as I can, and that's what I look forward to.
Cool.
And helping people out with their paranormal issues and stuff. I love doing that too.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to cut you lovely people off, but we're at the end of the episode, and I got crap to do. So, everybody, Beth, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. Looking really forward to seeing you, and I'm just waiting with bated breath to find out what you're going to present.
You'll have to find out when the application goes in.
Yeah, me too. Anyway. So everybody, this has been Scarefest Radio. Stick around if you're listening live or watching live, because we do have another show coming up. Body and Spirit will be following this right up. Everybody, this has been Scarefest Radio.